Coming up on Evening Edition, SIU faculty come out 3-1 against a proposed reorganization. The rain pours down on the river region, and USG tells Joshua Bowens, get out. Live from Southern Illinois University, this is River Region Evening Edition.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Zach Warhus.
And I'm Jacob Gordon. We'll get to those stories in just a moment, but first tonight. Heavy rain is coming down in our region. This is a video from Jackson County and Carbondale. Spring has sprung here in Southern Illinois. Temperatures held just shy of average, and this rain event is expected to drop 1 to 3 inches in some places. Let's check in now with Devin Dahm in the Weather Center to see how long this rain will continue. Devin.
Yeah, my condolences and sympathies to anyone who had to walk to class today. We've seen lots of rain around the river region today. We also are going to see more throughout the evening. Around 10 p.m. tonight, we're going to be seeing a temperature at around 53 degrees. That rain's going to continue on into the morning, and we're also going to see some cloud coverage in the morning and some cloud coverage throughout the day. We should get more rain tomorrow in the afternoon, but we are also kind of in a little bit of a flash flood warning in Southern Illinois and a little bit over into Missouri as well. So don't forget your umbrella, and we're going to let you know what Easter's looking like and if that Easter bunny's going to get wet hiding eggs. So all that's coming up with your 5-day forecast and more.
All right, thank you very much, Devin. A new story just into the newsroom. A Missouri man has been found guilty in a Carbondale murder. Travis Tyler of Cape Girardeau was convicted of murder and firearms charges in the death of 41-year-old Tim Betty on Easter morning in 2016. Tyler claimed the shooting was self-defense.
A new compilation of votes casted by faculty at Southern Illinois University Carbondale shows that the majority of tenured and tenured track faculty opposed Chancellor Carla Montemanio's restructuring plan.
Faculty had the right to vote to speed up or slow down the process, but 3/4 of the faculty have voted to extend the deadline for reviewing the plan. On top of that, 79% of the faculty have voted against the chancellor's proposal in their specific area. The margins of votes in the schools of engineering, physical science, and humanities were overwhelming. Undergraduate student government at SIU has resolved its leadership scramble after more than a month of uncertainty.
Evening Edition reporter Phoenix Simmons is live in the studio to tell us more. Phoenix.
It's official. Joshua Bowens has been impeached as the undergraduate student government president. Here's what happened.
Addictive, untimely, and incompetent were all used as grounds to impeach former undergraduate student government President Joshua Bowens both times. After more than a month of protest from Bowens, USG finally came to a decision regarding Bowens' status. He's out. Bowens argues the required 2/3 majority wasn't met on the first vote, but USG still moved forward with making his vice president the new USG president. Some board members say Bowens was lax, including not signing paperwork for funds for the Saluki Rainbow Network on time. They also say he attacked their character and didn't apologize sincerely. SIU's Rights and Responsibilities investigated Bowens, but was cleared of all charges. Senators say members of the student government must act in a higher standard than regular students.
Point of information, personally as a USG senator, not necessarily on the Internal Affairs Committee, the USG senators and the Senate themselves are supposed to hold themselves to the highest responsibility. We're supposed to be the model students for the rest of campus to live up to.
Eventually, the Senate moved to impeach Joshua Bowens with 14 votes. Still,
I want to keep smiling because that's all that we have. You know, this was just, one stepping stone to just a much broader aspect of leadership.
After over a month of deliberation, Emily Bias is the new USG president. I'm Phoenix Simmons for River Region Evening Edition.
All right, thanks, Phoenix. This afternoon, state lawmakers heard from victims of gun violence. House Speaker Michael Madigan invited several of them to tell their stories to a legislative committee in Chicago. Madigan says he wants to better efforts in controlling illegal sales of firearms. A Missouri judge has denied Governor Eric Greitens' motion to throw out the felony invasion of a privacy charge against him. The judge also turned down his request to keep a jury out of the courtroom. The married governor is accused of taking a suggestive photo of a mistress and sending it without her consent before he announced his candidacy for governor. Greitens' team denies that the photo exists, meaning there's no evidence of the crime.
That it occurred and presenting any evidence that it occurred, and there wasn't any. This motion to dismiss today was based on the grand jury being told given information about the law that was not accurate. And you can't do that. You've got to be accurate in terms of what you describe the law is in the grand jury.
Greitens' team also asked to disqualify Harvard professor Ronald Sullivan as special prosecutor. The judge denied the motion as well, but did grant the defense's request to depose Greitens' former mistress. That could happen as early as Friday.
The state will spend about $2 million over the next 5 years to make railroad crossings safer. The Illinois Commerce Commission's project names more than 700 crossings as needing help. The ICC says there were 6 more fatal crashes between trains and cars in 2017 than there were in 2016.
And ahead on Evening Edition, lawmakers say police aren't criminally responsible for the 2016 shooting of Alton Sterling.
And the nation mourns the passing of a civil rights icon. You're watching Evening Edition at 5. Louisiana prosecutors will not file charges against 2 Baton Rouge police officers involved in the 2016 shooting death of Alton Sterling. Louisiana Attorney General Jeff Landry calls the officers' actions well-founded and reasonable. Video of the incident shows Sterling pinned to the ground by the officers before he was shot. Landry says there was a struggle between Sterling and the 2 officers, and the officers say that Sterling reached for a gun.
After a thorough and exhaustive review of the evidence, the facts that can be established beyond a reasonable doubt, the law and jurisprudence of the state of Louisiana, and the obligations of prosecutors under the Code of Professional Conduct, the Louisiana Department of Justice cannot proceed with a prosecution of either Officer Lake or Officer Salamone.
Landry says a loaded gun was found in Sterling's right front pocket that night. Sterling's family says it will not drop a wrongful death suit against Baton Rouge police and the state of Louisiana.
64 years ago, a landmark Supreme Court case led to the desegregation of American schools.
As the country mourns the loss of the child who was at the center of it all, one expert in Africana studies at SIU says we're coming full circle in the education system. Evening Edition reporter Justin Broom tells us more.
When Linda Brown, who passed away in her home this past Sunday, was denied from attending an all-white elementary school in Topeka, Kansas, she had no idea she was about to be the center of the historic Supreme Court case that would desegregate all schools in the U.S. Brown versus Board of Education.
And when school started, my friends would, in fact, take their books and walk 4 blocks to the all-white school, and I would have to be bused clear across town. And I just didn't understand that.
The landmark decision was delivered on May 17th of 1954, but we are still feeling the effects of this decision today.
But if not for Brown, there wouldn't be the talks that we have about gender equality. There wouldn't be the talks that we have about being ADA accessible. See how inclusive we're becoming as a society. All of that was really the snowball effect that occurred in 1954 and went forth.
Father Joseph Brown, a professor of Africana Studies here at SIU, finds parallels with the struggles Linda's family faced in 1954 with the efforts of those students who protested for gun control legislation this past weekend in the March for Our Lives.
She also, her family in that case, helped to say to America, you haven't done enough to live up to your own expectations. This is going to benefit everybody, black, brown, white, and native, and anybody who comes here. So I think these young people, did they sit down and say, we're going to do what they did? No. But because somebody did it, that's a door that was unlocked.
He feels that the energy of the March for Our Lives movement not only mirror those of Linda Brown and her family, but will teach the country.
I think that coming out of the experienced, devastating trauma, you can either retreat into total depression and inability to function, or you can use that trauma as a trigger to heal yourself and to stop the future traumas. It's already a game changer.
In Carbondale, Justin Broom, Evening Edition.
Tech giant Apple revealed today a new budget iPad targeted at students. CEO Tim Cook and other Apple executives revealed the device at a school in Chicago today and showcased the software and apps designed specifically for teachers and students. It's the same size as a traditional iPad and costs $299 for schools and $329 for consumers. Apple is fighting to take back market share in classroom devices after losing ground in recent years to devices like Google's Chromebook. Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg will testify at a Senate hearing on April 10th. This comes after Cambridge Analytica reported accessed information from about 50 million Facebook users without their knowledge. Senate Judiciary Chairman Chuck Grassley officially invited Google CEO Sundar Pichai and Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey to the hearing. No reply yet from the last two.
Police in Michigan have arrested William Strample, a former Michigan State University dean and boss of Larry Nassar. Nassar is the former doctor for USA Gymnastics. He was sentenced to lengthy prison sentences after admitting to sexually abusing young girls for more than 2 decades. The charges include criminal sexual misconduct and willful neglect of duty.
California and New York are among the states now suing President Trump over a question in an upcoming 2020 census.
The census will talk about citizenship status. Natasha Chen reports from Washington on why critics argue this has wide-ranging and detrimental consequences.
The Constitution requires the federal government to count everyone in our country.
California was the first to launch a formal challenge to a controversial new question on the upcoming census. Are you a citizen?
We're not going to stop, and we're going to defend every one of our rights.
Now the New York Attorney General says he is leading a multi-state lawsuit. New Jersey says it will join. If non-citizen immigrants fear answering the census survey, critics say there will be an inaccurate picture of who's here. That means states with larger numbers of people who may withhold responses may lose federal funding for things that are determined by population size, like highways or children's health insurance. They may also lose seats in Congress. But leaders from states with a smaller proportion of non-citizens, like Pennsylvania, say the change could help them gain congressional seats.
If you actually did redistricting based on the number of citizens, states in the Rust Belt, would not have lost as much representation in Washington because we count based on number of people.
The Secretary of Commerce wrote in a letter Monday that the DOJ asked for this data,
specifically to help us better comply with the Voting Rights Act,
which is supposed to protect minorities' voting rights. He wrote the need for accurate citizenship data outweigh fears about a potentially lower response rate. In Washington, I'm Natasha Chen reporting.
The citizenship question has not been on the full census since the 1950s, but does appear on the yearly American Community Survey. That survey is sent to about 2 to 3% of the population each year.
In our health news tonight, flu season might be winding down, but the latest report from the CDC says that the B strain cases are being reported more frequently than A strain, which was dominant this winter. Nearly 58% of all confirmed flu cases were caused by the B strain, which tends to be more severe in younger children. Experts say that it's possible for those who have already had the flu to fall ill again with a different strain later this season. And itchy, irritated eyes are not common for this time of year, but could be more than just pollen in the air. It could be pink eye. The CDC says that 4 main causes of pink eye are viruses, bacteria, and allergens such as pet dander and dust mites. You can prevent pink eye from spreading by washing your hands thoroughly, avoiding touching and rubbing your eyes, and most cases of pink eye will get better on their own.
It rained all day, but is it here to stay? Devin Dom has the weather next.
And tech stocks took a beating today, and as well as major indexes fell. Stay tuned for.
That was going to be Saturday, but it kind of moved up a day. Saturday and Sunday are both PM showers, and I feel really bad for that Easter bunny. He's going to have to hide the eggs in the rain.
Yes, rain, go away.
Rain, go away. Thank you so much, Devin.
You're welcome.
Let's go over to Patrick Cotto with a preview of what's coming up next in sports. Patrick?
Well, coming up, the Saluki baseball team begins conference play this weekend. And is Loyola's Sister Jean the only talk of the NCAA tournament? Stay tuned. And this game, she couldn't keep her eyes off the screen.
All right, thank you so much, Patrick. That's really inspiring. Well, the rain didn't let up today, but is it sticking around for the rest of the week? Devin Dom has the 5-day forecast next.
And a Florida woman marries an unlikely groom. We'll be right back. A Fort Myers woman tied the knot on an unlikely groom, a 100-year-old tree.
The city thought about cutting down the Snell Park ficus tree, but the woman married it to bring awareness to the beloved tree. They didn't exchange ring because the tree already has its own. But what was important were their vows.
All right. And one last check of weather.
Well, lots of rain. The rain's going to continue throughout the week. Friday is about the only day we're really going to see that sun peek out, and the temperatures should stay in the mid-50s, a little upper 50s, and we're going to see that lowest temperature on Sunday on Easter, which is really sad, but I'm sorry. I can't control the weather. I just tell it to you.
There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. I'm just glad to see some sunshine in the 7-day forecast besides
Yes.
all of the rain.
All the rain. All the rain or overcast, lots of clouds as well.
But at least it's not cold, so.
I know. We do get those upper temperatures and low winds.
Yeah.
Lots of
All
low
right.
winds.
Thank you, Devin. And thank you for joining us tonight. Don't forget to follow us on social media at River Region News and visit our webpage for more local news. I'm Jacob Gordon.
And I'm Zach Warhus. For Devin, Patrick, and all the students here at Evening Edition, have a great night.